Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be painting a really fun Valentine's Day card, and I cannot wait to do that with you guys today. And if you are brand new to my channel, I love providing free printable outlines or sketches that you can go ahead and either trace or print right onto your watercolor paper. So just scroll on down to the description of this video and you'll find a link where you can sign up and grab the free printable outline. So today we are going to be painting this really fun, I love you very much Valentine's Day card. And I have the supplies list that I'll be using also listed in the description down below this video. But really any supplies that you have on hand is going to be perfect for today's tutorial. And if you're looking for other Valentine's Day card ideas to be painting this year, I will link a few others below in the description of this video that I've done in the past that I think you'll really enjoy as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started painting this fun Valentine's Day card. So here I have my outline printed, ready to go on my watercolor paper, but you certainly can sketch it if you don't have a way to print out the outline. Just be sure to have that lightly sketched, and so it doesn't have too stark or dark of a outline, because once watercolor overlays it, it's not easy and very difficult to lighten an outline. So just a little reminder, make sure your outlines are light enough where you can still see them. Okay, so I'm going to work with a size 6 pointed round medium synthetic brush here, and I am going to use a variety of colors. So first I'm going to grab my red, which is that alizarin crimson in my palette. So of course I need that color for my strawberry. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of our pink, just so that way it can kind of brighten up our strawberry in ways that the red just can't. And then I plan to even darken up some areas. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of our ultramarine blue with our red. So I'll just kind of show you that mixture right here with a little bit of our red, and that's going to give us that really nice burgundy dark red color, and that'll create the shadow area of our kind of more severe like 3D subject of our strawberry. Okay, so going to get my brush nice and wet. I'm going to start by grabbing our red alizarin crimson color, and I'm gonna get my brush nice and full of that paint and water, kind of a medium amount on my brush. And what I'm going to do is do my very best to work around all those little seeds, as you can see on the outline. So let's just go ahead and start painting in our red. That's why I love a pointed round brush. I can kind of work with a nice detail area around these seeds and not have to switch around brushes. So I am going to work in this area is going to be a little bit darker, and then the highlight's going to be over here. And that just means that the light is going to hit it over there, and so I just naturally need to make it a little bit brighter and lighter. And as I work my way over there, I want to add in a little bit of our pinks into the middle part of the strawberry. It's definitely going to give us those Valentine's Day vibes. So I'm going to grab more red. And again, as you can tell, I have a medium amount of paint and water on my brush. So I don't have it where the paint is pooling too much. It's just gliding really nice, a nice little layer across the paper. All right, let's just kind of run this right along the edge here of our strawberry outline. Like so. And grab a little bit more. The trick will be to work a little bit quickly. We want to fill in our strawberry before it fully dries, so we don't have any weird, harsh lines. All right, come on down here. Just kind of working on this half, because then I plan to grab some of our pinks in the middle here. All right, and then naturally as we work our way to this side, the strawberry will get lighter. Okay, just grabbing more of our red and working around now the leaves So again, I don't want it where my water is pooling too much. It will tend to create quite a weird drying effect of our water. And which is a really fun way to go with watercolor in certain ways, like within skies. But when I'm painting this object, I just don't want to see a lot of harsh water dried edges. All right, so just continue. Again, I'll use a little less paint, a little more water, just to make sure that it's a little bit lighter as I'm working my way this way. Okay, filling in around those seeds. Those I plan to do in a yellow ochre color when I get a little bit farther and get this strawberry all painted in. All right, coming on down to the bottom. Coming around this side. Pretty soon we're going to start to pick up that pink color in our palette. But if you don't have any pink in your palette, don't worry, you can just use more water, less paint on our red as we work our way this direction. You can already start to see it's getting lighter and looking a little more like a sphere. All right, I'm going to start to pick up a little bit of our pink. And I'm going to just run it right into the red that I was working with. And now that's going to give us another lighter, brighter color where the light is hitting the strawberry. On this side, I just love how those two colors are blending so nicely with each other. You might need to bring your brush kind of right over where you already were, just to help fade some of that. So you can kind of see the subtle difference of that pink from the red. I'm gonna pick up more pink. I'd save a medium amount on my brush. And again, I don't want too much water. Just want it to be a nice gradual change from red to pink. All right. Working our way this way, around those seeds, which is always kind of a tedious task when you're painting strawberries. All right, work around this part of the leaf. Let's see, I'm gonna go back and just reshape this part of the leaf. There we go. All right, continuing on this way. And then as I work my way up, on this side, it will get lighter. And by lighter, I just mean that I'm going to use less paint and more water. All right. And it is best to come at it lighter than you want, only because you can always add more watercolor, but it's really hard to take it away if you decide that you have too much paint. So try your best to just leave it a little bit lighter. And again, I'm just gonna grab that pink and I'm gonna run it right along the outer edge. And I am going to try and leave this area nice, light, and bright. So I really got rid of the paint on my brush, dab my paper towel, and I'm just going to push around that paint that I have there and maybe leave little whites of the paper showing. I know it's hard to tell now because we don't have those seeds in there yet, but what I will do is grab some of our red color and I'm just gonna drop it in up top here around this edge here. So it's not only gonna be pink on this side. We have to incorporate some of our reds. Do my best to leave a nice edge. All right, bringing that red all the way down like that. Okay, that looks bright and yummy. Now, we certainly can go back through and add some of our mixture of our red when we mixed it with our ultramarine blue that gave us that nice burgundy color red, and that's going to create a better shadow color. One more layer of dimension for this strawberry. So medium amount on my brush, I'll just work my way kind of down on the lower half there and kind of coming up on this side. Add it over there. And this will be a great color to add it kind of in between the leaves that are casting a shadow. All right, so that gave our strawberry more dimension. So I like the way that turned out. I'm just going to use a little bit of my damp brush just to smooth out any areas that seem like they got kind of, you know, a stark drying area. But I don't mind some fun watercolor texture. So like this little piece here gave us a nice little water droplet, and it's drying, and it's fun little watercolor technique. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm going to add in our little strawberries around the corners. And for that, I'm just gonna grab our red color. These, I'm not gonna worry about the seeds. And you really could switch to a smaller brush if you feel like you don't have enough control. But really, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in this tiny little strawberry corner detail, like so. I'll do that on this side. It'll make a lot more sense too once we get in our green stems and leaves. All right, there's that piece there. And then just switch this to be upside down. It'll just be easier for my hands not to bump it. Fill in this piece right here. And this one over here in the corner. All right. 4 cute little strawberries. I'm just gonna let those dry. I might add in a little bit of a layer to create more of like a shadow for those corner strawberries. Next, what I'll do is maybe just work on the border, and I'm really excited about this border. It's just going to be a kind of like a checked, so every other, it'll be like a pink and then the red. So let's do one color first, and then we'll let that dry and we'll go through and add in the other one. So I'm gonna work on the red pieces. So make sure that you don't have too much water on your brush so you can kind of control it. And I think I'm going to add in a little bit of blue to this just so we can kind of make it a little bit of a darker, more richer red. All right, that looked like a really nice red there. So doesn't matter where we start, but what I plan to do is just paint in little squares like that. And then leaving the same width of the square next to it, and that'll become the pink. All right, here we go. Just working our way around. This part might take a little bit, but it's also very soothing and mindless. So hopefully you can just kind of relax, turn on some music. But I do think this border will make it extra cute, and it will be worth it. All right, like that. And again, just eyeballing this, trying to do our best to try and make it somewhat even. But again, if you don't get it even for size of squares, that is no big deal. All right, there's one. Work on this side. I don't want too much water. One reason is it's just harder to control and create a square. Another reason is it just takes so long to dry. just want enough water where it glides along the paper, but then isn't pooling. All right. This would be a really great class to do with any of your kids or friends. Have a Valentine's Day party and create cards. All right. Continue on. Lots of little squares, and again, they might get a little messy as you go because you might get a little less patient like I am. Just try and do your very best. And I'm just using little pressure with the very tip of my brush. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and clean off my brush. Sometimes that helps if you feel like it's just getting hard to control, and spin it right there on your paper towel. All right, mixing those two colors up, my red with my ultramarine blue, giving me this really pretty rich red color. All right. There we go. Grabbing a little bit more. Doing my very best to make sure that they are even, but I am definitely not getting it perfect. Okay. So I will just go ahead and speed up this part of the video so you don't have to sit and listen to me chat while we just paint in these squares. Okay, so there are my red squares, and now what I'm going to do is go through and do the pink squares. So I'll get rid of the paint on my brush and just going to pick up our pink. I don't want to put a ton of paint on my brush because I want it to be lighter than this darker red that I put around the border. And then I am just going to go to an area that I've let dry, so these red squares have dried, and this will actually go a little bit faster because now I can just quick run it right across. I'm not going to run a whole stripe across. You certainly could do that, but I think it'll carry that red into the pink too much. So here is my cute pink squares next to the red. Just continue, again, making sure that we go to an area that isn't too wet. Otherwise you'll get some bleeding between the squares. Okay, so I can tell these red squares are not fully dry, and you can even see that I made a little bit of a boo-boo down there. So I'm actually gonna go like this and just do my best to not run them into each other too much. Okay, there we have our fun checker border. So now what I'd like to do is create the green part of our strawberries, and then we can put in those little seeds. So feel free to either continue on with the brush that we've been using, which is that size 6. And I'm going to grab our sap green, so that kind of bright green in our palette here. And I'm going to first work with that one, but then I'll add in some darker values to that. So let's go ahead and paint in these green leaves, making sure I don't have too much paint on my brush, and also being careful not to bump our border. If you would like, feel free to let that dry so you don't bump it, because of course rotating your paper now won't help us because a lot of the areas are still wet. All right. And painting our little stem here. So as you can see, that looks just a little too bright. So what I'm going to do now is grab some of our ultramarine blue and mix that with our sap green. And that gives us that nice, rich, darker green color. So then what I'll do is just run that along some of our leaves here. So that one, and kind of right there. Just so that way it kind of breaks up that really dark color. And then once that dries, I can always add more detail to our leaves. I'll use that same green mixture, so our sap green and our ultramarine blue, and I'm going to use that to fill in our tiny strawberry greenery here. That one I just don't need to be quite as detailed and worry about a variety of colors. They're just so small. So I'll go ahead and rotate that around using the very point of my brush. And just like that. All right. So let's add in our seeds to the main strawberry. I think I'll switch to something a little bit smaller. So here I have my size 1 brush, and I'm creating those seeds with a yellow ochre. So you can either just grab the yellow there or put it in your palette next to you to make sure you don't have too much water. But now we can just start to fill in these seeds. And it's okay if a little bit of white of the paper pokes out or between some of these seeds, gives it that fun character of a painting. This, as you can tell, isn't a super realistic strawberry because it's a heart, and we're doing a fun greeting card. All right, just continuing to fill in these little white areas for our seeds. All right, just like that. And have some over here, which should stand out a little bit more with it being lighter in the background, that lighter pink color, like so. Okay, and if you would like, you can use that yellow ochre just to put little tiny little dots on our strawberries. Your paint might stand out, but mine is really hard to see, but you can see little dots, and I think it does give it just a little bit more of a strawberry feel. So I'm going to do that around these, and they might just dry and be very subtle, but it's not at least just one flat strawberry anymore, like that. All right. So now we can do our cute little message, love you very much. And so I plan to do that in that nice burgundy dark red color, but feel free to do it in maybe a pop of color if you like that idea. But I am going to keep it within the color scheme that we're working with here. So I am just going to work with my size 1. That's the same brush I was just creating our seeds with. And that way I can have a little bit better control. So here I might need to mix up a little bit more. It is going to take quite a bit of paint. And so just go ahead and grab your red, mix it with your ultramarine blue. I do want to make sure it's on the darker maroon side. And definitely more paint and a little bit of water so it glides. All right. And using our thin brush, I'm just able to get a little bit better control. But again, you don't want to add too much water where it pools and you don't have control over, because sometimes if you have too much water, all of a sudden a big blob of water will fall onto your paper. All right, picking up more color. And you can always do these cards again and again and play with the colors. Maybe you'll find a different combination that you just think is a lot more fun. All right, thin pressure, filling in those letters the best we can, because they are so small. All right. And holding your brush more upright will give you a better, almost like you're writing with a pencil feel. Rather than having it on its side will be harder because it'll just create a thicker line. And we want more precision, so holding it upright, however you hold a pencil, should help that. All right, we're getting there. We might need to mix up more. Love you very much. All right. Again, if you find that it's just not gliding along the paper as well as you wish, do add just a little bit of water to your brush and pick up more paint. It's just running across that watercolor texture paper. If you don't have enough water, it will crackle and give you kind of a rough looking texture. And then you can just simply fix it by adding just a little bit more water. All right, so close. Love you very much. All right, so now I'm just going to take a look at my card to see if there's anything that I can do to help kind of make it more complete. And actually what I would like to do is take some of the same dark color. I'm switching to my larger brush, size 6. And what I'm going to do is just run that darker color kind of underneath some of these seeds, because the way that the light is hitting it from here, it'll cast a shadow on this side of the seeds. And I think that's going to help make it look a little more lifelike. So you can just kind of go on the left side of the seed with that darker color. And that's going to help it look more 3D. And they don't need to be a perfect little round around the edges of these seeds. Just a little something to help break up our strawberry color there. And I am just going to kind of stick to this side where it is the darkest. Okay, and then if I wanted to add a little bit of shadow to that one, I am just going to use more of like the red. Oops, I gotta add a little bit of water just to help brighten up some of those pieces right there. All right. And then I'm going to grab a little more of our reddish maroon color, and I will add it just to the edges here of our strawberry. Don't want to darken it too much, just to give it a little more dimension, especially up by the leaves here, like that. All right. And then last but not least, we just want to add a little bit of something to our leaves. So I'll just use a little bit of our green, sap green, mix it with a little bit of our ultramarine blue. Just gonna, there, mix it right there. And then what I'm going to do is just run a line right down the center of our leaf. And then kind of paint in fun little veins of our leaves. It just needed a little something to break up the leaf so it wasn't so flat. They don't need to be perfect, just a little something. And then one last detail I'd like to add to my strawberry is using the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And you do not need to do this, but if you have a white gouache or this paint here, I like to add final little details, and I'm going to do it right in the seeds. I think that they get kind of lost being that dark yellow gold color. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and put it on my palette over here. I don't need a whole lot. And then I am going to cover up my jar here so it does not get dried out. All right, so I'm just going to put little white adds to these seeds, and I'm just going to do it in like small little spots there so you can kind of see. And I think this is going to help this strawberry seed come to life a little bit more, and like you'll see them a lot better. The trick with this white paint, or this Dr. Bleed Proof White, is to make sure you don't wet it too much. You do want it to be wet just so it'll glide across the paper, but you don't want it to be transparent. So the trick is definitely to just add a little bit of water using my tiny little brush, just add these little white details into our seeds. And I think that looks a lot better. It doesn't look quite so flat. And if you wanted to, you could add them into your tiny little strawberries on the corner here. Just kind of, it'll probably just take up where the gold is. It's up to you if you like that look. Just go ahead and continue it. Okay. That. All right. And there we have our strawberry for our Valentine's Day card. And I hope you really, truly enjoyed this class. I would love to see your paintings. If you follow along and decide to paint this one, please tag me. If you post a picture over on Instagram, you can tag me at Windswept Design Studio. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed this class, and I will see you in a future one.